It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. Yours truly here on the week of October the 30th, 2024. On this week's edition of the program, we're going to have a frequent podcaster turned over to the other side, that being Michael Massie from Happy Hour, who had a great episode on Tuesday. I encourage everybody to check that out on the Front Stretch Podcast Network. He's going to be coming on. We're going to recap Homestead, the wildness. We're going to look at all the news and notes and preview this upcoming's penultimate finale in Martinsville. But without further ado, let's dive on into our interview that our Dalton Hopkins talked with a couple weeks ago in Las Vegas, the driver of the number 25 Vivid EV and front stretch car, Mr. Blaine Perkins.
Now it's time for...
There you see Blaine Perkins working his way off the turn number 15.
To go into the Inferno with Bryan.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Dalton Hopkins with FrontStretch.com, and I am sitting right next to the driver of this weekend's number 29 Ford Mustang in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Vivid, being on the car this weekend, and we are also on the car this weekend with FrontStretch.com, but a little bit more special. It is a beautiful Kevin Harvick throwback paint scheme, a good throwback to his 2003-2006 days with GM Goodwrench. Blaine, first off, how you feeling? And are you ready to do this throwback for Kevin Harvick?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to finally being able to strap into this thing here in a couple hours. First time seeing it was today, and man, just seeing that thing walking in the garage, I'm like, that thing's beautiful. So I've seen a bunch of different people throughout the pits, and everybody loves it, and I'm really excited to get it on track, and hopefully have a good showing for them.
So what was your reaction to seeing it the first time? I mean, because we were just talking about it, and you told me that you didn't even know it was going to be a throwback.
Yeah.
So, exactly. Yeah, so how'd that come about?
To me, it was kind of a shock. Like, I know Joe at Vivid was really interested in designing the car, and we had talked about this for a few weeks now once we got the whole deal put together, and then just kind of out of nowhere, I got shot the design. I'm like, whoa, that's totally a Kevin Harvick throwback, and it's really cool for me, obviously, being from Bakersfield. Kevin, I grew up looking up to, and I've gotten to know him over the years, and so just being able to kind of run one of these schemes, probably our closest home race here in Sonoma, both about 5 hours away, but it's just really cool. I mean, this is something I grew up 15, 20 years ago watching him and win all these races, and to be able to run one of his throwbacks is always a fun time.
Do you have a favorite Kevin Harvick paint scheme?
I wouldn't say I have necessarily a favorite. I've just been a big fan of his ever since the RCR days, and so I just kind of, all his different cars, obviously, probably as I got a little older, I probably tuned in and watched him a little bit more as he won those championships with everyone at SHR, and so probably the later ones in his career.
Right. So this season has also been a very interesting one for you. If I'm not mistaken, your first one being with RSS. So how do you rate your season being your first one with this race team?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're just still growing as a race team. We've had our bumps along the road, but I mean, as a whole, we've had some good runs. Looking forward to kind of finishing off this year on a high note, coming back to Vegas. I really enjoy this track. Unfortunately, I think we had a shock problem here in the spring or something. So looking forward to kind of seeing what we have this weekend. Like I said, it's something unknown to us because we didn't really get to run many laps in the spring. So I always enjoy this racetrack. We've got Martinsville coming up, obviously probably my favorite track, and Phoenix is another good one for me. Homestead's always just fun. So I love the way that the schedule kind of ends, and hopefully putting a good stamp to the end of the year here.
How do you tackle a track like Las Vegas? And then, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be this paint scheme for Homestead as well. So that's what I've been told. So, but even if not, how do you tackle a track like Las Vegas and Homestead, both being 1.5 mile racetracks? Like especially after coming off of what was such a weird hybrid track like the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, that's what I love about our schedule is it's so just different. I mean, every weekend you're going somewhere else. I mean, last week we were at the Roval, running half the oval, running half a road course, and having a good time. And now we're back all the way out here on the West Coast. And I enjoy, like I said, Las Vegas is a really fun track for me. And I think as it's gotten older with the bump, there's some characteristics over there in turns 1 and 2, and you kind of of spreads out really well, and it races really good for a racetrack. So I'm looking forward to this one. And then, like I said, Homestead's another animal. You can ride up on the fence, have a good time. I mean, it's fun there, but that place is difficult, so it can definitely bite you. And then go straight back to beating and bang at Martinsville and finishing off there with the championship race there in Phoenix. So I just love our schedule.
You're talking the way you're describing these racetracks to me. Just kind of it almost sounds like veteran talking. And you've been in the Xfinity Series for a little while now. So how much, going back from way back in February in Daytona, how much have you learned? What have you learned over the process of 2024?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, every year I'm still relatively new when you look at everybody in our series, but definitely having a couple full years now under my belt, kind of understanding the way the schedule goes and how long the season is, and how it just, you got to keep grinding it out and learning each and every week and take something from one racetrack and apply it to the next. So that's been our biggest thing, is just trying to improve our program each and every week. And by doing that, I think we should have a good weekend this weekend. Like I said, Vegas is one of my favorite tracks, and looking forward to see how we can run this weekend. Obviously, we didn't get around much in the spring, and I know Steve's really excited to be on the car, to be helping out on the car this weekend, and he loves this place too. So it's just kind of a fun weekend always to come out here and see a lot of people that I know from the West Coast as well, and probably go to the bull ring tonight, watch some late model races. So it's just always a fun weekend for me.
What does this team need? What do you need? But what does also this team need? What do all of you guys need? A little bit extra to start to get that top 10, maybe a top 10 for this year, or maybe moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's just continually building as a team. I mean, obviously we're still just trying to. This is an extremely competitive series. I think running top 20s for us right now is kind of like a win for our team, and that's what we're really focusing on, is top 20s, and then turn those into top 15s, and just continually raising the bar for us. So I'm looking forward to kind of finishing the year on a strong note for us. And like I said, we had a couple good races in a row there. Unfortunately had an issue last week with some shims falling out of the left front and just some racing things. Man, those curbs are big there at the Roval, yeah. So they probably did a little damage there. And
they did some damage to a lot of cars.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's fun. But we didn't quite get the finish we probably deserved. We were actually pretty quick last week. And so, like I said, just trying to finish the year out on a strong note. I think we can start here. And then obviously heading to some short tracks here at the end of the year is always good for us.
When you come out here to Vegas, are you the kind of guy that kind of like locks yourself up in your hauler or your camper or whatever, in your hotel, and just like tries not to get the distractions, or do you guys go out and have a little bit of fun?
Yeah, I think it's always fun to usually we get out here the day before, so maybe go Top Golf or just go walk around Fremont Street. There's a lot of things you can do here in Vegas, and go do that with all the guys, and I think it's just good building team camaraderie. And then obviously, once you get to the racetrack, it's time to go to work. I've been here since the garage opened and tech day, and getting ready to practice and qualify, and then probably, like I said, head over to the bowling later tonight, watch some more racing, and go see some old friends, and then do it all again tomorrow for 300 miles. So
if you go out with everyone else, are you like what's your go-to game? Like you said, Top Golf, but like if you go to a casino or a hotel or something like that, what's your go-to game?
Yeah, so I guess if we're talking Vegas here,
if you have one, it's okay if you don't.
I don't do that too much. I try to stay away from the slot machines. That's probably they make thing. Money somehow. Yeah. That Las Vegas is lit up real bright over there, so I don't know. I usually stay away from that as much as I can, and then obviously going out with some friends and just hanging out. Sure, maybe I'll play a little blackjack with some guys, but no, I'm not really. It's just more of a fun thing to do and go hang out.
I think that's a very healthy thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Not everyone does it, but that's a very healthy thing to do.
It's Vegas. Everybody has to have a good time.
When you're in Vegas. So we have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3. We have 4 races left this year. Do you have plans moving into next year yet?
Still working on plans for next year. Nothing signed or getting really ready to announce yet, but still working on sponsorship and all that stuff, and talking to teams and trying to figure out exactly what the deal is going to be for next year. Hopefully we'll have something maybe figured out by Phoenix, probably my guess, and then hopefully announce pretty early into the off season, or maybe, like I said, towards that Phoenix deadline. But as of right now, no, we're still kind of putting the pieces together for next year.
Have you had teams reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think always, especially in the Xfinity Series, I think we're always kind of talking, and drivers are talking to all kinds of different teams, and obviously silly season is always a good time, and
Right.
Drivers just moving all over the place. So talk to a bunch of different teams and just trying to figure out which would be a good place to settle down for next year, and obviously sponsorship is a big key role in that, so still trying to finalize all our stuff for next year, and hopefully we're getting to a good place, and like I said, hopefully have some announcements here in maybe the coming month or so.
If you wanted to do another throwback other than the one you've got right now, which one would it be? You can think of anyone that you want.
And
But if you ever had one in mind, if you were in the shower one day and you were like, man, this would be really cool if I did this one.
Put me on the spot big time. It's funny, like a couple drivers come to my mind. I mean, I think paint schemes is tough for me. I was always a big Casey Kane fan growing up,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe one of his older paint schemes would have been really cool. I kind of remember some of his Red Bull days and stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a bunch of different paint schemes out there, but like I said, as far as a driver goes, for some reason I don't really know what it was, but Casey Kane was also another one that I was a big fan of.
That's a good answer. Yeah, you could say somewhere along Casey Kane. You could say something by Casey Kane. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember I have a old memory of going to the Chili Bowl when I was young and watching him run the midgets around there, and going to the pits and taking a picture with him when I was, I don't know, probably 8-10 years old. So that was just another cool memory, and like I said, ever since then I was a big Casey King fan.
You're going to go there again this year?
Haven't been there in a couple years, but man, I'd love to just go watch. That's an awesome place, awesome racetrack, awesome environment, and I don't do any dirt racing. It would be fun to race that one year, but
that was going to be my next question. Is that something that down the line for you?
I wish, but man, I have no dirt racing experience. I think it would take a couple years, couple races over there at Millbridge, and kind of working my way into it. But it's definitely an awesome event to watch every year.
Outstanding. Well, Blaine, I think that's all I've got right now. I really appreciate you sitting down with me, and I wish you the best of luck today and tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on and talking a little bit about this year and our big partnership with Vivid this weekend, and having you guys on the car as well. And just appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Blaine.
Thank you.
Once again, that was Blaine Perkins, driver of the number 29 car. Big thanks to everybody that supported the Vivid EV front stretch deal at Las Vegas and Homestead. The cars looked awesome. Not the results that obviously Blaine was looking for, but he is a young, up-and-coming talent that is just getting his feet wet in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Let's dive on into what is still hot, where we talk about the latest in the world of NASCAR.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
All right, I'm going to bring in my co-host at this time at M_Massie22. He is the man that has caused me so much pain because he sent his quarterback to my favorite NFL team and has caused me way more stress than I intended. So, Mr. Michael Massie, I appreciate you causing so much pain on my Sundays. So thank God for NASCAR. But in all seriousness, thanks for coming on, buddy. How are you? And what a crazy couple of weeks before we finish up the season.
I'm doing good. I just want to say I warned you. I warned you when you were taking on the diva that is known as Aaron Rodgers. But thankfully, we have our quarterback issues of our own right now, but on the injury side. But no, it's been great for racing. We saw 3 great races at Homestead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't help but imagine if those 3 were crowning a championship, how much better it would be. But that's another issue for another day.
Yeah, I think Doug Rice said it best on DBC that the Cup race was the best race out of all 3, and we don't get to say that enough. And that was so refreshing because it was true. I mean, not just the final couple laps, but the entire race. It was a very, very it was a fun watch from start to finish. Let's dive on in, though, Massie, into what wasn't really fun, and that was in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. A very, very scary incident in which Connor Jones intentionally wrecked Matt Mills. It sent Matt Mills to the hospital for smoke inhalation. He was hospitalized for 2 days. Thankfully, he is out of the hospital, and he will be racing on on Friday. With that being said, it was announced on Wednesday, Massie, that Connor Jones was suspended a race. Sanctioning body said that he had an infraction of section 4.3.A, 4.4.B, NASCAR Member Code of Conduct. I mean, I don't think we would have seen this about a couple years ago. We saw all these Truck Series people just going absolutely insane, out of control, and they're finally putting a stop to this. And in my opinion, I don't think it was a harsher penalty. As many days as Matt Mills had to spend in the hospital, I think that's how many races Connor Jones should have been suspended. But it wasn't. At least he's getting one. What has gone through this guy's mind? I mean, he didn't have any. He wasn't at all concerned until after the race, in which a PR firm did a fake statement on his behalf. I mean, it's so disheartening to see, because I feel like he does have potential, that he could be a good race car driver. It's just his ignorance and his stupidity is getting in the way.
Yeah, he's a good driver for sure. I mean, just the week before, he won the Cars Tour finale at North Wilkesboro. And who did he pass to do it? Carson Quaffle, who's like one of the best up-and-coming drivers out there right now. So, I mean, you don't do that without some talent. But, yeah, it's I think the biggest thing, and the reason they had to suspend him, is it's been a recurring problem. And a lot of people have complained about his racing in trucks, in the Cars Tour, and it's like he hasn't learned a lesson. So hopefully the suspension will make him think a little more when he's sitting there watching the truck race and he's not a part of it. Because he's still a young kid. He's still got a chance to grow up and change, and I hope that's what happens. But yeah, it was a really scary incident, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned by Connor. One, racing etiquette. You don't just dump a guy because he raced you. I mean, nobody has dug up any footage of what Matt Mills actually did to Connor, because I don't think there is any.
I think it's called racing.
Yeah, I think he raced him, and he got mad that somebody raced. I guess everybody on the track should just pull over and let Connor Jones go by.
Apparently.
I guess that's his world. And then the way he handled it afterwards, where he denied the comment to the media, and Jordan Bianchi pointed out that they tried to get comment once, and he said, "I need some time." That's fine. But then when you get approached again, and you know the guy's in the hospital, and you still don't give comment, that's a bad look. Like, you really could have gotten in front of it and explained what happened and got more people on your side. And he squashed that opportunity. And then the statement that may or may not have been written by AI, by ChatGPT, that certainly read like it was written that way. It was so disingenuous. And I don't know. I feel like, I wonder if he's even sorry at all that he sent Matt to the hospital.
No, I don't think he is. Let's be honest. He's not sorry.
He's not sorry. He's sorry he got caught. But I don't think he's actually sorry.
Exactly. So, and it's sad.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah. I hope we're wrong. I hope he learned his lesson, but I'm not too optimistic on that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. He will be back in the truck in Phoenix in 2 weeks' time. Massie, another interesting nugget that came out on Wednesday. Booty Barker is going to be having his final race with Bubba Wallace in the season finale at Phoenix following the end of the season. He'll be replaced by Charles Denke, the crew chief for Christian Eckes and the number 19 truck team at McAnally Hilgeman Racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Booty will remain with 2311 and continue to work with the competition leadership team to prepare cars and strategize for the races. His new role will be based at airspeed. I think we all had a feeling that this was coming just because of just how well Bubba has ran, but has not won a race this year. And I think something had to change. And unfortunately, it was the crew chief. Your thoughts on the move and how different is this gonna be?
Well, we see, well, first off, it's a bad look when you have one car that's in the championship four and the other car doesn't even make the playoffs. Like, that is really condemning of the 23 team. So changes need to be made. And we've seen in NASCAR history, like, when there's a problem with a team, the first change you make is the crew chief. If you change the crew chief and the results are still the same, then it's going to be the driver. So I feel like you're getting down to this is Bubba's last straw, and he's really got to put up and perform, or else it could be him on the chopping block next. And I'm not saying Booty got fired, but he's getting moved to a different role.
The writing was kind of on the wall. Let's be real here.
Yeah. So I think they're making the right move and making a change just to see if someone else. I mean, look at William Byron. He didn't do that much with Check and House, and then he gets Rudy Fugle and he starts winning a bunch of races. So sometimes it is about just getting the right guy. And look, I can't say his last name, but the crew chief that's moving into the spot, Denicky. Okay, I would have pronounced that horribly, but he's done a great job with Christian Eckes, and they've won a lot of races. Could win a championship together in a couple weeks. So he's obviously ready to get promoted. His driver's getting promoted to the Xfinity Series, so it only makes sense for him to get promoted as well. Great opportunity for him with a great team, and he could be one of the shining star crew chiefs we see of the future. You're muted.
My bad. Massie, let's dive on in, though, into our NASCAR points update. One race before we name the 4 that are heading to Phoenix to compete for a championship. 2 drivers are locked in, that being Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano. The other 2, Christopher Bell's 29 points to the good, and then it's all hell could break loose. William Byron only 7 points to the good. Larson's 7 down. Hamlin is 18 down, and then it looks like it's going to be a must-win with Ryan Blaney 38 and Chase Elliott in 43. It is going to be an absolute war, Massie. What are you going to be expecting on Sunday?
Yeah, so if you're asking me to make a prediction, I could give it to you in like the most likely outcomes. I'd say number 1 outcome I'm thinking is Denny Hamlin wins and gets his way in, and Hendrick gets completely shut out of the playoffs.
Which would be wild.
Yeah, it'd be extremely wild, but they just haven't really had it lately. Like, they had a ton of momentum entering this round, and then Alex Bowman gets DQ'd, and they've kind of been reeling from there. I mean, Elliott and Larson both had a chance to win on Sunday, and neither one came home with the W. So I'd put that most likely. Second most likely, I think William Byron makes it and either just has a good day or goes out there and wins like he does in the spring. I put him as better at Martinsville than Kyle Larson. And anywhere else, I'd give Larson the edge, but that's one of the tracks where I'll give Byron the edge because he's pretty good there with the exception of last fall. Larson... Larson making it.
Oh, you're good. No, before you dive in, they're never going to admit this, but what does NASCAR want? What would be best for NASCAR?
The best for NASCAR? I mean, I guess it'd be the 24 making it, right? I mean, Hendrick in his 40th year, they're
maybe. I was thinking Larson just because I feel like he's popular than Chase. Now, if Chase won it, then that's great too. But then, I mean, I feel like...
Here's the thing. I feel like Larson, NASCAR's dream scenario, I feel like, is Larson missing it by less than 5 points.
Yep.
Like Byron beating him out by 5 points, because then they could point at the Coke 600 and be like, see, if you got out of that Indy car and came and raced the Coke 600, you'd be in the championship 4 right now. So, it could be a huge "I told you so" moment for NASCAR. Of those guys, the one they least want to get in there is the guy that is suing them right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see Larson having a good day just because he's a clutch driver. Blaney and Elliott, they got to win. I'd put Blaney winning ahead of Elliott winning just because Blaney won there last year and Elliott has only won one race all year. So, yeah, that's kind of the rankings of how I think things will play out.
Let's dive on into our soundbite of the week, where we hear from a NASCAR Xfinity driver that potentially does not have a ride for 2025.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track race.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
We're a day that started on the pole, looked for a great opportunity for points, positions, and everything. What kind of happened? How do you look at what outside of each other's car?
This wasn't meant to be a good day for us, honestly. Went through the kitchen sink at it 2-3 times, and all 2-3 times we didn't hit on what we needed to hit on there for the balance. So. And then the driver made a mistake on pit road on the green flag stop and drove it off the jack, and that lost us a good bit and hurt our strategy there for the end. But taking that out still wasn't meant to be today, and I think we know what we need to do when we go to Martinsville.
We need to win.
Pretty much, yeah.
So how do you feel about the ability to try to go win Martinsville?
Well, I don't have a ride next year, Bob. I could be working for my dad's construction business, and I could be hanging it up at the end of this year. So with that being said, all craps will not be given in Martinsville. And we were really fast there in the spring. Just don't need a wreck in practice so I can make my life a little easier and not have to drive from the back, hopefully. It's meant to be. It'll happen. If not, we still had an amazing season this year, and super, super grateful for the opportunity that I had this year with everybody that I was able to work with at Joe Gibbs Racing.
You still, from what I understand, you're talking to a lot of people for next year, right? So
it's not really any seats left open. There's the only seats left open. You got to bring a big, big, big pocketbook with you, and I don't have a big pocketbook. So
once again, that was Chandler Smith talking with fellow media members, including our Big Hoss and Jared Haas. I don't know. Can we call him Big Hoss? The guy's lost 70 pounds. I mean, shout out to Jared. Can we still call him Big Hoss?
He's I guess he's like medium Hoss now.
Is he slim thick Hoss?
Slim thick Hoss. You call him Beetlejuice, whatever you want to call him.
Jared, I just want to let you know that was Michael Massie, not Bryan Nolen. That was Michael Massie. But in all seriousness though, I think it kind of just says what the lower division series is happening to. And DBC mentioned this a lot, that it's basically a pay-to-play league now, because you have a guy that could potentially be running for a championship in about a week and a half that doesn't even have a ride, and probably is not going to have a ride because he doesn't have money. I mean, make this make sense for me and the rest of our listeners, Massie, because I'm a little confuzzled right now.
Yeah, the wild part is a couple months ago, we were thinking, if Truex retires, who's going to get in that 19 seat? We were thinking Chandler Smith. And now we've seen Chase Briscoe get chosen over him. And we're watching as those Gibbs Xfinity seats fill up with people that bring money to the table. I'm not saying Chandler Smith is broke. I think his family does have plenty of money, but I don't know that they can compete with like what William Sawalich or Taylor Gray or those guys that'll be racing the Gibbs cars next year bring. So yeah, I'm hoping Taylor Smith, like him or not, he deserves to at least be in the Xfinity Series full time in a competitive ride next year. And I'm hoping someone steps up and takes him, but you're seeing more and more seats get filled. So it's like, would he rather drive, like I don't know, like an RSS car or like DGM, one of these cars that just aren't really that good? Or would he rather just sit out a year and try to find something the following year? I don't know. It's really to say. I think the best bet for him, if he doesn't find anything full time competitively, would be to find like a good part time ride. Even if that's a Gibbs seat, if that's a JRM seat, even like a colleague seat. I just, it's better to do that, like Ryan Truex is doing now. Like, how much higher is Ryan Truex's stock doing these part-time rides with Gibbs than it was when he was running full-time with like colleague, or when they were not what they are now. But yeah, it's gonna be really sad if he doesn't have a ride next year.
Massie, let's dive on into our final thoughts where we wrap up today's program.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Our final thought segment is in the air. Whatever you want to rant, rave, or anything in between. Mr. Michael Massie, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I was going to bring up, and I think I'll be writing about it this week for the Fire and Fridays column as well. NASCAR could be racing in Saudi Arabia by the end of this decade. And that's something that Adam Stern wrote about from the Sports Business Journal the other day. And yeah, there was a picture on their wall of the track they're designing there, which looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And if they do it, it's got to be a night race, because the way the lights looked and stuff, it looked really cool. And Saudi Arabia's got crazy amounts of money and been bringing in a bunch of other sports. So, I mean, NASCAR could get a big bag to go over there and race. But when we talked about it on Happy Hour last night, the concern is they got to come up with a way for the teams to also make bank if they're going to go out there. It definitely be cool to see a race out there. I know the country has its political problems and whatnot, but anytime you can get NASCAR outside of the United States and in front of more eyes, like we saw in the 90s, the Japan race was a huge hit. And now we're doing Mexico next year. So I just figured, why not try it once? You run it as the Clash and do it like a couple weeks before the season. And that way you give ample time for travel and all the, you don't want to send them in there in between like a Sonoma and Richmond race or something like that. So make it easy on the teams and it gives them plenty of travel time. But if they want to race there, I'm all for it. If they're willing to give you all kinds of crazy money to go over there, take it.
I think no matter what, NASCAR is going to be kicking themselves because you got Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott all below the cut line. No matter what, a big name is going to be not advancing to the championship four. Joey Logano, sure, he won at Vegas, he's in. Tyler Reddick, sure, he won in Homestead, he's in. Okay, that's totally fine. But if you are willing to tell me that NASCAR wanted those two instead of a guy like Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott in, you're just straight up lying to me. It is going to be sad that potentially the season series champion from a year ago is not going to be in. A guy that's won 6 races is not going to be in. Denny Hamlin, probably the most polarizing guy in the sport, could not be in. And then, the most popular driver could not be in as well. I'm not saying all 4 of those guys are not going to be in. Easily one of them could win. I mean, Ryan Blaney won last year. Chase Elliott's won there before. Denny Hamlin's won the most out of all of them. And then Kyle Larson's obviously the weakest out of the 4 when they head to the paperclip. But no matter what, NASCAR is going to be kicking themselves because this is what happens when you get the format of win and you're in. And guess what? For Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano, they did what they had to do and they won. And now they're going to be competing for a championship in about a week and a half time. You know what? Also, we're going to be wanting to watch, or should I say read, is the column that Michael Massie Jr. the third is going to be cooking up on frontstretch.com. I've heard a little bit of a sneak peek. You've also heard a little bit of a sneak peek. He's going to put his thoughts to his laptop and going to write a delicious article. Yes, I don't think you've ever gotten a article called Delicious, but that changes tonight because it's going to be a delicious article, Michael Massie. What else are you going to be cooking up on frontstretch.com?
Well, I'll be at the track this weekend in Martinsville Speedway with Trey Lyle, unfortunately. But we'll get you some great content out there with all 3 series having their penultimate races, as you said. And yeah, there's always drama, especially that Xfinity race. There's always just craziness that happens this weekend at Martinsville. So we'll be on top of it all. Look for us to get some interviews too. That will come out in the, some driver features that'll come out in the coming weeks. So yeah, and if you did listen to Happy Hour on the same podcast feed last night or Tuesday night, be sure to listen to that as well. We had Taylor Kitchen on, and she was a great guest.
Yeah, she was awesome. I mean, it was a fantastic article or fantastic listen. I listened to it throughout my workday today. Very, very good stuff there. Once again, our Front Stretch podcast network, frontstretch.com, and then whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts, listen to all of our great podcasts today. Coming up next on the Front Stretch podcast network is going to be Through the Gears. My man Tino's got all the latest betting odds for you coming up at the Paperclip, and then you got Stock Car Scoop, and then like Matthew was saying, Happy Hour every single Tuesday on the Front Stretch podcast network. Massie, thank you so much. We'll be watching / looking / reading / whatever, however we want to digest your content this upcoming weekend in Martinsville. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a good time. And, we didn't make fun of Trey enough, so.
No, we should have.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have more opportunities.
Oh, I mean, it's Trey. All you got to do is look at him. Duh. Sorry, Trey. I still love you. But for Trey Lau, Michael Massie, I am Brian Timothy Dono. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk with you next week to preview the season finale at Phoenix.
I'm Caleb Barnes with FrontStretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.